Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the April 2015 monthly meeting, and welcome to all these individuals who joined the Wikimedia Foundation in the month of March. Could those of you who are in the San Francisco office in this list and who joined in March actually stand up, please? New hires. So welcome, Joel, Michael, Stefan, Terry, another Michael, Kurosh, Jan Moritz, Megan, and Kevin, and welcome to our new contractors, interns, and volunteers. And welcome to this new space. So for those of you who are tuned in to our live stream or on the chat and working remotely, this is the first ever meeting in our fifth floor in the San Francisco office. And we're very proud of the new facilities, and thank you to the facilities team for getting the space into ship shape for us. Really great work. We have some things to celebrate and recognize for the month of March that I want to highlight. Big kudos to the visual editor team for really working incredibly hard, getting through all the blockers they identified in the first quarter to get visual editor ready for wider release. A total of 364 issues have been resolved. The biggest win in the last month was the launch of the new REST-based API. Big thanks to the services team for getting that done, which helped increase um, performance, reduce load time by 40%. Just that one change made a huge difference. There have been many other changes to make Visual Editor faster, to make it really snappy before wider release. So please join me in a round of applause for the Visual Editor team and the services team and everyone involved. Also want to call out the great work by our grant-making group. This is the first time that we've tried a grant-making campaign to address a specific issue. This was called the Inspire campaign, and we made a lot of noise in a lot of places to get people excited about addressing the gender gap in Wikimedia projects. So the Inspire campaign had a goal of 100 ideas. We got 267. We have more than 600 participants. We have 40 proposals that are being actively reviewed. There's a lot of energy, a lot of excitement about creative ideas and strategies to bring more women into Wikimedia projects. So huge kudos to everyone who's worked on that. And then finally, as you know, we are suing the NSA. So I think that kind of speaks for itself, but I want to recognize the hard effort, the hard work by everyone involved in preparing the litigation action and the communications work around that. It remains to be seen whether we can win the lawsuit, but even actually being out there and standing for users' rights, I think makes a huge difference. So thanks for everyone involved in this effort. So as far as the main theme of today's meeting goes, we have been talking a lot in the last few weeks about the call to action that Lila has made to the organization and the shift to data-driven decision-making in all our work. And one of the groups at the Wikimedia Foundation that has been data-driven from the very beginning has been the fundraising group. And since the very early days, within the context of the fundraising work, it's been incredibly important to measure everything we do, to test everything we do. And over the years, that team and that group has really become a machine, right? It's become amazing at doing what it does and continually optimizing and learning and bringing those learnings into the next iteration of the work. And so they're going to share with you today everything that they've learned through the campaign last year when it comes to making decisions based on data. And I really think this is a great model for the rest of the organization and for other teams and how data can inform our decision making on an ongoing basis. So I'm going to hand it over to Lisa, who's a Google Chief Revenue Officer, to lead us through this presentation.
Hey, wow, this feels a lot more fancy. I feel like I should have dressed up or something. So I just want to acknowledge before we get going, Chip and Lynette and the Robert, the whole team who's made this possible. It's makes me feel like I need to step up my game, you know. um, and I hope it feels different in this room. It feels a lot more professional, more serious, and I'm hoping that we're hearing on the other end from people who are remote that this is a better experience for them too. And I think that enables us to be more global as we're supposed to be. So this is kind of exciting. All right, so I think you've all had a chance to take a look at the call to action at our all hands meeting. We talked through 3 of the kind of planks in the call to action, and today we're going to talk about a 4th one, which is we will make decisions based on data. To be very clear, the fundraising team, we are not experts on data, especially when I look at guys like Dario. It's kind of funny that, us, a bunch of social science majors, are standing up here talking to you about data. But the reason we're here is not because we're good at math or anything like that, because the important part of that phrase, I think, is about making decisions. When presented with data, what do? Well, the fundraising team, we've become pretty good at receiving data and acting, making decisions on an hourly, daily, monthly basis when we receive input. So that's what we're going to walk you through today. We're going to focus on the English fundraiser, we all saw in December, and show you all of the different places where we receive data and how that influences our decision making. So this is a little bit of a political science frame, but we've broken it down into kind of 3 areas of input. What people do, Megan Hernandez will walk us through that. That's looking at the actions people take on the website. What people think, this is more qualitative research that we do. And then what people say, this is the feedback channels that we receive and how we absorb that information and act on it. And then lastly, Ellery will walk us through some upcoming trends. Okay, so this is sort of the map for the whole talk today. This is the data matrix for the English fundraiser. So as I said, Megan's going to talk about what people do. This is the qualitative side. This is the donations, when people donate. Are they donating on their first impression, their second impression? All of the A/B tests, which messages elicit which responses, and finally the user tests, how people interact with the banners and the whole donation flow. Then I'll talk about what people think. We've got a ton of input in this area. Our donor survey, which was in the month of December alone, had 270,000 respondents. It's 10% of our donors filled out about a 30-question survey. And then our reader surveys, we did 3 of them alone, one of which was professionally done, and then focus groups that we do on a regular basis. And then finally, Pats will walk you through what people say. And this is all the hard work from donor services that process about 25,000 emails in the month of December alone, led by Caitlin Cogdill. And then we'll talk about the social media analysis, and finally the input we received from our own internal community feedback channels. Okay, so Megan has just arrived from France to talk to us about our first kind of section.
Hello. Okay, so what people do section. This is just a quick breakdown of where our donations actually came from in December. We raised $33 million from 2.5 million donors. As you can see, the bulk of money came from the US, which is consistent with what we've seen in past years as well. And for this set of countries, we raised 30% more money than we did in 2013. So quick shot of where the money came from. Not bad. Here you have a breakdown of the 3 most important channels for online fundraising, which is desktop, mobile, and email donations. We've made significant gains across all 3 channels in 2014. As you can see, desktop is still where the bulk of our money is coming from. Although we did make big gains in mobile and email as well, and we know in the next few years, mobile and email are going to become an even more important part of our budget. Here we broke out donations just by banner donations, so looking at desktop and mobile. Over the past couple of years, we've known that our desktop traffic is going down and our mobile traffic is going up, so we put a lot of effort into our mobile banners. We created completely new mobile banners that wildly outperformed the banners from 2013. And within 1 year, we were able to raise 17 times more donations on mobile and go from 2% of our banner money coming from mobile to 20%. This by no means means that we have cracked the code on mobile fundraising. We have a lot of challenges ahead and plenty of improvements to make, but we feel good about the progress we've made so far. And yeah, just another reminder, so 300K for mobile in 2013 and 5 million in 2014. So definitely growing. Email fundraising is another area that is becoming very quickly very important to the foundation's revenue. Whenever anybody makes a donation, they submit their email address, and about a year later, we send them a message asking them to give again, and many people do. In last year, we sent 4.5 million emails and raised about $7 million, which was a 73% increase over 2013. And with an email list this size, we're able to run a lot of A/B tests. And just so everybody has an idea of what I say when we run A/B tests of emails, a quick example, we write 2 different email messages, send them out to similar groups of past donors, and we can see which one gets more donations. And we test all kinds of variables from subject lines to email copy, time of day, day of week of sending, and yeah, we doubled the number of A/B tests we sent this year, and through all this extra testing, we were able to find several 10%, 20% gains in performance. And this is an area, every year that we run the fundraiser, we add more people to our donor database, and this becomes more and more important for our budget every year. I'm bringing back the banners in case anybody forgot from December, or in case you've just blocked it. So this is what we're calling our large banner. Every reader saw this one time, and every other page they visited after that, they saw this small banner. So large, small, once, lots of times. And here you have the donation rate over the entire month of December for each type of banner. As you can see, the large banner has a much higher donation rate. It's roughly 5 times higher than the rate of the small banner. That's huge, right? We would not have been able to raise the amount of money we did in December without that large banner. Much more effective. Roughly 60% of our donations came in from people on their first banner they saw in December, which was that large banner. And this graph is really interesting as well. And thank you, Ellery, for making it. Not sure where he is, but he should be here. So again, this large banner says up one time per person, and we see all the way down here at the end of December that there are still people who are just visiting for the first time and getting this big banner. So what does that show us? Not all of our readers are visiting Wikipedia every day or even every week. There are new people throughout the whole month, and we think that's also why the donation rate goes down over the month. Maybe these people are visiting more often and getting more use out of the site and more likely to donate, and maybe people who don't visit so often aren't going to donate as much because they don't get as much out of the site. Okay, this graph's a little bit harder to read because the campaigns ran at different times, but this shows the donation rate of our desktop, mobile, and email campaigns for the month of December. The big takeaway here is that our mobile banners perform about 2 to 3 times worse than desktop. Okay, so yes, we've made a lot of gains on mobile, but we cannot expect people to convert at the same rate across devices. Mobile still presents a lot of challenges and a lot of improvements to make. I love this screenshot. So this is a screenshot of 1 week of our testing calendar during the campaign. And I mentioned A/B testing earlier when we were talking about email, and we do the exact same thing for banners. So luckily we have the traffic of a top website, and we have a lot of data, and we can run a lot of tests. So each event here in this calendar is a different A/B test from the campaign. And we run a very data-driven fundraiser, as is the theme of this meeting. We never run a banner on the site. If there's a banner up, there's always an A/B test running. So, during the campaign, throughout the day, we're putting up different tests, looking at the results, seeing which banner gets more donations, and using those results to come up with new tests and to drive future tests. So it's incredibly interesting and also really satisfying to get these kinds of direct answers for the ideas we have about what will make people donate more. And it's a lot of fun. You get excited about different test ideas, and we make bets. It creates a good energy for the team. So let's look at a couple. Okay, let's play a game of which test won. This is a mobile test from November. We were testing a longer message against a shorter message. What do you guys think? Which one won? Did everybody say shorter? Okay. You're right. This is a 27% increase in having a longer message, which is crazy, right? People are on their phones. We think make it faster, make it shorter. But actually, people here wanted the extra facts. And the messages are very similar. The extra lines this one has are about advertising. We could have made it a nonprofit, or we could have made it a for-profit company with advertising, but we didn't. So that's a huge find. Once we found that, we tested all different variations of the length and also which words to add in. But yes, very interesting finding. We have one more. This is from Desktop Message. We'll get right to it. This week we asked our readers to help us, which ran against we'll get right to it. Only 2 days left in 2014 to help Wikipedia. Okay, you guys got it. Yes, that was a 25% increase, and this is consistent with what we've seen in past years as well. This kind of deadline, end of campaign message is really powerful, especially at the end of the year as we're getting close to the end. And so yes, again, once we found this, we ran through like 10 different versions of this kind of a deadline idea. This is by no means comprehensive, but here you have a little sampler platter of different tests we ran throughout the campaign. Colors, fonts, buttons, all kinds of things. We ran 350 banners in 2014, which was a 40% increase in the number of banners from 2013. And again, 60% of donors gave on their first banner impression, which was that large banner that showed up one time, and they got no banners after. So yes, we use the results from these A/B tests to help guide our testing, but we also use qualitative feedback as well to to help inform our strategy. So we run online and in-person user tests. Basically, readers are given a task, and we watch them interact with the site and our banners. And we get a lot of ideas from running kinds of tests. Here are a couple results from December. We had a 13% increase with larger font on desktop and a 12% increase with bigger buttons on mobile, which makes sense, right? We're watching videos of people having a hard time with small buttons. The parts of the message that stood out the most to user testers are that we have no advertising, we're a nonprofit, and we're available online for free. Many user testers said they did not know we were a nonprofit before they read the banner in the test, which is important for us because we have the goal, obviously, to raise the budget, but we have an additional goal to inform and educate all of our readers, not just our donors, about Wikipedia and how it's run. And I can't tell you enough how valuable this kind of feedback is when you're sitting there trying to work on a banner that people are going to see, it's really helpful to have real people and their own words in your mind to help come up with ideas. Moving on.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about the what people think section here, and this is all qualitative research. Some of these surveys are randomized, others are self-selected. Some are of the audience is readers, others it's donors, and I'll give you just kind of some high-level overviews of what we found in December and how we use that to impact our work. So the first one is this donor survey, which is remarkable to me. I'm still shocked of how many people complete this survey. So this survey is presented to donors in the donation flow after they've given, and they have an option to fill out what is actually quite a pretty long survey. And roughly 10% of our donors in the month of December did this. And here's kind of a few of the responses that we got that impact our work. So this is, in the past year, about how many times have you seen a fundraising message on Wikipedia? The top two were, this is the first time, which, given that a lot of people donate, most people donate on their first impression, that makes sense. And then a couple of times. So people are also, the way we've been running our campaigns is we do it in an intense period of approximately 3 weeks, but then at various points through the year when we're testing in a particular market, people will see a banner, we'll run it at 5%. So it makes sense that there's also people who've seen it perhaps in July. And then this is a very open-ended question. It's a bunch of statements, and people are allowed to check any that apply to them. And the two most common responses were Wikipedia is not running usually is not running fundraising messages, and I am not annoyed when I see fundraising messages on Wikipedia, according to over half our donors on both of those. And then this is an interesting one, which, again, from our donors. So these are people who've given us money, and you've made it to question 20 of a survey. Would you like to receive information on how to edit Wikipedia? 49,000 of our donors in the month of December said they would like to receive information on how to edit Wikipedia. And then this is leading into kind of the next area of research that we did. This is around reader surveys. So we did 3 of them. We did a baseline before we began the campaign. We did one right after, and then we did this survey with a professional outside group in the 5 countries where we ran the English fundraiser. And this was a survey of 2,300 readers who visit Wikipedia at least once a month. Here's some of the headlines. And if you haven't seen the whole survey, it's worth taking a look. We put it out on. We actually gave Signpost an advanced copy of it. They covered it, and then it's up on Commons for anybody who wants to see all the results. But here's some of the highlights. It seems like Wikipedia asks for donations less often than other nonprofit organizations. The response here is almost 4 out of 5 people who answered that question agreed, and 19% of which strongly agreed in the United States. So the dark colors there indicate intensity. They strongly agree. Light blue is somewhat agree. The kind of dark orange is strongly disagree, and the light orange is somewhat disagree. And then, of course, quite a few had no opinion. And then the next question was, Wikipedia does not run fundraising messages very often. Again, very, very similar results to the top one. Again, here's the banner comparison. So what we did in this part of the survey is we split the sample. We showed half the group the big banner, we showed half the group the small banner, and then we asked their opinion of it. We asked them whether they considered the message subtle or intrusive, and asked them to rate that on a scale of 0 to 5. And what we found when we split the sample is the results were not significantly different. People did not have a very significant difference in their opinion of the small versus large banner. And then this is the last thing we're going to talk about on the qualitative side and under what people think. And this is the focus groups that we do. Now, some of our focus groups are formal, done by outside groups. Others are very informal, where Megan and Jessica and others actually go and bring a group of our donors together, 5 to 10, and just talk to them about Wikipedia and about the fundraising messages that we do. We meet with people and run it by them, randomly kind of selected groups of donors. And this is a really useful process for developing messages. Quantitative can kind of only get you so far. If you're trying to come up with something creative to appeal to people, it's really important to sit down with them occasionally and talk to them face to face and to get their opinions. And it is often in the creative process when Megan and others are trying to think about messages, think about what to say, they're drawing on things that were said by real people in focus groups. And so while it doesn't seem significant to get the opinion of 10 people, that is what it informs. It's the creative process. It's that personal connection with people that you can't get just by looking at numbers. All right, so now we're going to move on to the next section with Pat, who is going to talk about what people say.
Thank you, Lisa. There we go. So this is the last part of our matrix, and it is what people say. This is proactive information we got from donors who emailed us thousands of emails on our donor services team, mentions on social media, and then comments on Wikimedia L and Meta. So let's see a little bit about what our donor services team got as a feedback. And this is data from October through December 2014, so Q2 of 2014. And we got around 38,000 tickets, which is a 76% increase from last year. It's huge. So donors really want to talk to us. They want to give us feedback, and we're listening. 32% of the tickets were tagged, "We love you too." And we keep this tag only for the nicest, most appreciation kind of emails, and we got a bunch of them this quarter. So that's great. 14% of the tickets were tagged as complaints, so people who were not really happy about something. And then we have a breakdown of the complaints here in the graph. One of them is bulk email, and the main edge case for this is when donors send us 2 donations through 2 different email addresses, and then we have a duplicate record of them in our system. And when we go and send them the email for fundraising, they get a duplicate email. Feels like bulk email. It's not a good experience. Geolocation. Donors want to donate. They see the form, and the form does not match with either their country or the currency they want to donate with. Tax deductibility. People asking information about it or requesting tax deductibility for their countries. And banner issues. People who have either donated and still see the banner, or people who are asking, are these banners real? Is it legitimate? And these are some of the samples of some emails that we normally get in donor services. So these are emails that I know Megan often shares with you guys, especially during Big EM. That's when we get most of them. And there are emails of appreciation saying, "Thank you, Wikipedia rocks. You guys are awesome. I use it constantly. It's my primary opening every stream of inquiry." So just, we keep receiving these emails, and it's always nice to know that these are flowing. And we also have feedback on the full screen banners that we ran, and they are mostly positive. And it could be a little counterintuitive to wonder why would readers actually appreciate a bigger ask for donation. But they get it that the more they see the banners, the less they see the banners. Actually, the less they concentrate in the message. So then you end up with feedback like, I think that you should use this pop-up more often. I have seen fundraising ads on Wikipedia many times, but today was the first time that I actually gave money to the organization. Or there have been probably lots of fundraising messages that I just didn't read. This one was big and I saw it. Or I've seen them before and successfully ignored them. My bad. So the narrative is more or less the same. They're acknowledging that, oops, I didn't see it before. This was very visible. Thanks for that. Moving on to Twitter sentiment analysis. So these are Twitter mentions that we got from the word Wikipedia or Wikipedia combined with fundraising themed key words. We got around 30,000 of those between November and early January. 44% of them were positive, 49% of neutral, so a grand total of 93% were either positive or neutral, which is pretty good, and 7% were negative. And then we have Wikimedia L and Meta. For both of those channels, we got 165 comments in December for a total of 48 contributors, and 50% of the comments were made by 10 people. The topics related to the Wikimedia fundraising in these comments were obnoxious fundraising banners damaging the brand, fundraising emails terrible and unbecoming, technology and policy questions about different countries, and fundraising banners interfering with Google results. So that was a lot of information, and actually all the information that we received as a proactive feedback really matches with what people do and what people think from the previous matrix. So these are the upcoming trends that we are going for, thinking about all the feedback we got. New payment methods, trying to reach people where they are and trying to provide them with the alternatives they really want to use. We have new campaigns coming up, Latin America and Asia, we're mostly excited about. We have a lot of good stuff coming up there. Building our email list, increased focus on mobile and email. As Megan said, those are huge opportunities that we have this year. We're doing good, we can do so much better, so we're going to focus on that. And improvements to recurring donations. So now we want to keep relying on data to actually help with all these trends and to really understand what our readership looks like. So I would call Ellery, if he's, oh, there he is. So he will talk a little bit more about it.
So I'm going to give you a brief update on Pageview trends and how they pertain to our ability to fundraise next year. So see the next slide, please. Okay. So this plot depicts the number of page views per month to the desktop version of English Wikipedia from the United States over time, so from one month to the next. The black shows the historical data. The orange shows our sort of predicted values, and the gray is a measure of uncertainty around the prediction. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of uncertainty. But if we go with the most likely outcome, pardon? Okay, we see that there will be roughly a 25% decrease in page views from this past December, this upcoming December, on the desktop version of English Wikipedia from the United States. On mobile, the trend is reversed. We're expecting to see about a 20% increase, and we are a bit more certain in our projections. So what does this mean for our ability to fundraise? So we know that within the context of a single campaign, more banner impressions lead to more donations. This is no surprise. We also know that the probability of somebody donating on a mobile banner is quite a bit lower than the probability of somebody donating on a banner that they see on desktop. So even though the combined trend in page views is only decreasing slightly, we estimate at roughly 5%. The fact that we're in a sense exchanging desktop page views for mobile page views poses a real challenge for our ability to fundraise. Clearly, there are sort of many relevant factors that will be that are relevant to our ability to fundraise and that are changing. So we should be actually quite careful in using page views as a strong indicator to predict our fundraising potential. And I'm happy to talk to anybody about why this is the case later on. But sort of holding all things equal, both fewer page views and a shift in page views from desktop to mobile pose a large challenge, especially if we're hoping to maintain the budget or even grow the budget.
I just want to follow up really quickly for that. Having those projections is so helpful for us in planning out for our work for the next year. So given these trends, like Ellery said, we know that we cannot rely on the same exact banners from last year and expect to raise more money or even the same amount that we raised last year. Right? If we run that same campaign, we will raise less money. We have lots of improvements to make and lots of test ideas. I feel really positive about those, but we'll always aim for improvements that make the banners less annoying. That's ideal. But the 25% decline in desktop page views is real and it is significant. And realistically, we need to prepare to make significant changes to our banners. Last year, yes, we made the banner bigger and used urgent messaging, and it was really effective. And I think this year we need to be prepared to make those kinds of changes again. Thank you to Ellery and Analytics for getting this information ready now. We want to have this conversation with you guys and let you know that as you're requesting all of your budget for the next year, the situation that we're in and the challenges that we're facing. So thank you. And I'm encouraged. We have a wonderful team. Thank you all for being dedicated to figuring this stuff out. And thank you guys for listening today and taking this seriously.
Thank you for the presentation. My question is, I think, mostly for Ellery. So can you speak about why you think page view trends should not be the main source that we look at when we look at the fundraising changes in the coming year or two?
Yeah, so the first is we don't really know what the correspondence is between page views and the money that we can raise every year. You might be tempted to say that it's linear, right? So that a 25% dip in page views leads to a 25% dip in the money that we can raise. We know that's not true. So within the context of a campaign, the marginal value of a banner impression is not constant, right? It's decreasing. That's one thing. So it's not linear. I'm saying we don't know what it is. We know the value is decreasing. Another is that page views don't donate, users donate. Page views are simply a proxy for the number of potential donors, probably not a particularly good one. Another reason is that we can't really rely on historical data to estimate the relationship, because every year what we've seen is that the number of pages on desktop in English Wikipedia from the United States has been going down. We've been raising more money, right? So the trend is inverted. We would make the wrong conclusions from the historical data. And that's really because of the changes that the fundraising team is making. So that brings us to like another point, which is we don't know how the things that we did last year will do this year. Megan does tests that show that basically the things that we're doing sort of decay in performance naturally. And we don't know that sort of what the impact that the changes that that we're proposing will have. So all this put together makes complicates things and means that page views you should take it with a grain of salt. But it's worrying for the reasons.
So you identified that there's a difference in the return rate on banner impressions for mobile and desktop. I mean, have you guys looked at how efficient mobile banners have been over time? Because I know I worked on like some of the really early campaigns, and we used to be very inefficient with desktop banners, and you guys have like taken that to like its theoretical limit at this point, and it feels like you guys have a lot of like improvement to be made, and maybe it's not really always going to be a difference. Maybe you could actually turn it around.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We have definitely been working on the mobile banners and seen like a 400% increase in performance from the 2013 mobile banners. But exactly, we have plenty of improvements. We're integrating with easier payment methods for phones. You know, plenty of tests, like similar to the stuff that we did on desktop, on mobile. It's started, and yeah, we have more to do. There are a lot of other nonprofits and other companies as well who are seeing the same trend of it's harder to get people to convert on their phone. So I don't think it's a problem that's unique to us, and I think it is definitely a big challenge. Yes.
So for the first of the IRC questions from earlier, about the large and small banner graph, they're wondering if there was a comparison about the first banner, because they weren't sure it was very equivalent on the actual graph, because obviously first impression itself is also more likely to get a donation. So just interested in a comparison of that. It's not actually on here.
Oh, sorry. Yes, so sorry, was the question if we compared the performance of the big banner against the small banner, regardless if it was the first or second?
Right.
Okay, yes, we did run that test, and yes, the big banner wildly outperforms the small banner. But I do think there's some truth to it, right? I think that first impression, if people are going to donate on it, I think it is more powerful. The large banner was, you know, just much more powerful because one, of the performance, and two, yes, people saw it first.
So for the next one, as we're going in, has there been any thought of special fundraising when users come to Wikipedia through Google Knowledge, Siri, other sort of different answer sites, or coming from some specific spot?
Yeah, I think so. We are constantly researching, you know, new payment methods on our side as well as new revenue channels outside of our specific banner. So I definitely think it's something that we're do.
Yeah, I mean, and I would just add, I mean, part of the challenge there, one of the things you said in that question is that when they come to our site through these things, and I think one of the bigger challenges is that they're not coming to our site. Mm-hmm. They're getting the information there and not necessarily clicking through to Wikipedia. And so that is a big concern for fundraising. You know, it's on one level we're achieving our mission with when our content is syndicated around, but it does pose a big threat to our revenue model.
Given that, what are some of the ideas that you're adding around for next year and changing and adapting to the current environment?
From the banner side, it's a lot of kinds of things that you've seen, right? Optimizing, improving their performance, building up our email list as quickly as we can. Given the traffic trends, we are trying to get people who aren't even donating to send us their email so that we have it ready for next year. Our banners last year had a little link that say, remind me later, and we're trying to build up as many as we can. And yes, basically optimizing the performance of all the channels that we currently have. And then
yeah, so just to build on that, I mean, email is super, super important, right? That is the resilient channel. It doesn't matter what happens to our traffic, we have those email addresses, and every year we're able to raise more from those donors. So if they're, regardless of where they're reading Wikipedia, if we have an email address and we have them in the database, they're there for us. So email, I can't stress, that is, you know, we're really emphasizing it, and work like on dedupe on the list, and you saw us do a much larger kind of A/B testing of the messages. You know, email is, I just can't stress it enough. But then we have other revenue channels, right? We don't, you know, I know that the small donor model has been our bread and butter, and believe me, there's nobody. We want to keep that. But if things change dramatically, we'll have to move to other revenue channels. And Caitlin Virtue's team, the foundations and Major Gifts team, has also been stepping it up and expanding their work in that world. And finally, I think we introduced that we just hired a VP of partnerships, Karosh, who's around here, and who's going to be thinking more about syndication and how we manage those relationships. What kind of things we want in return from our partners? Is it more prominent link backs? Is it more clear messaging that the information that they're receiving is coming from Wikipedia? So we've, Karosh is this is only week 2 for him, so I'm not going to put him on the spot on what the strategy is there, but we're really beginning to think about that and figure something out for a future where people, could be reading Wikipedia content a whole lot other places than on wikipedia.org.
For another one of our IRC questions, how is the data being shown from this presentation, from the surveys, et cetera, with the community? And is it being done in such a way so that they can reflect and help during the fundraiser, or only in a historical sense? Only looking back.
Yeah, so the big reader survey we ran has been posted online and written about in the signpost. All this information will be posted online, and yes, we do want to share more information and more of our research with the community more regularly. We can't promise to share every survey question with in real time. That's not realistic given the team that we have. But in general, yes, we want to provide it. We know our data, our community also responds well to data. When we've shown them test results in the past, they understand it as well. So it makes sense for us to share that.
Since most of the donations are coming from the first banner impression, have you looked at the trends in unique visitors? Because maybe that's more important than the total number of page views.
I think it's both, right? Because 40% of the money did come from people seeing more than one. A lot of people do need that second, that third reminder. So I think it's that. But yes, right? If the total number of people go down, then that is a huge.
Thank you.
So for another question from IRC is, how do values factor in our banner choices? Are we prepared to follow the numbers regardless of where they point? Or are there limits on how far we allow ourselves to intrude upon user experience? If so, are those limits articulated anywhere?
I mean, I think it goes along with exactly what we showed you guys today, right? We are tracking this feedback, and we're taking it really seriously. We're running surveys, we're running user tests, and to make sure that we are being effective, but also providing a good experience for readers, right? That is the most important thing. I don't think it's helpful in any way to damage people, try to get more money, right? That doesn't help anything. So I think we're going to keep making changes, yes, and as we do, following what we see in the research.
I just wanted to provide some context. I know that this conversation is an interesting one, and I'm glad we're having it. But I want to make sure people understand that we have over $80 million of cash and investments. We are not in any financial trouble right now. Our fundraising team does an outstanding job. And so basically this is preparing us for the future. This is not an immediate situation we need to worry about. I just wanted to make sure everyone understood.
Everybody gets a paycheck next month.
So are we open to shifting progressively towards an endowment to reduce our dependency on frequent fundraising? I assume online fundraising specifically.
So the short answer is yes, I think so. We've had discussions with the board about an endowment. We're doing research right now on creating an endowment. None of those strategies are to eliminate annual fundraising, though. It is to create an endowment that would fulfill a strategic purpose and ensure essentially that Wikipedia would live forever. So while it doesn't replace what we're doing, it can supplement, and I'm very supportive of creating an endowment.
Probably while you're still up, there's also a question just about, see if we can describe the new advancement department's structure and the sort of restructuring.
Sure. So yeah, my role got expanded a little bit, just that I'm overseeing Karosh's work on partnerships as well. So fundraising is remaining the same, but partnerships is coming over to us too. So we're just kind of taking on a new function. And with that, Wikipedia Zero is now reporting to Karosh. So we're the sort of philosophical difference is that we're looking for resources that can create value for the organization, and those resources can be money. They can also be partnerships. The work that the Wikipedia Zero team is providing value through partnerships, readership in really critical places. So the overall kind of scope of the group has changed, but the work of the fundraising team will stay very much the same. All right, anything else? All right, well, thank you all. And we're available for further discussions and talk over lunch. So please find anybody from the fundraising team, and we'd love to talk about it more. Thank you.